Hi guys and welcome. Today I'm sharing with you 20 amazing dollar store farmhouse DIYs. They are lemon and bee themed. For my first DIY, I will be making a lemon wreath for my family room. I will be placing it above my fireplace. I picked up those branches. They were, I think, $1.50. And then this garland came from Hobby Lobby and it was $12.99 regular price, and then I used a 40% coupon on it. There are some lemons that are a mixture from Dollar Tree and Michael's. Some I had on hand, some are new, and then this wreath that I picked up at Michael's and I used a 40% coupon. I think that was $5, I believe. So the first thing that I did with this wreath is I did not want to glue the branches. Now, if you are putting this outside and there is wind and weather plays a role, I would glue these or tie them up. I just shoved them in here. So I took one branch and I had separated it and stuck all the branches all the way around. Once I was satisfied with the way the leaves looked, I have added the garland, and I am using the gardening wire to attach the garland on, and I picked that up at Dollarama as well. Once I went all the way around, I just spread it out, made sure it's not caught up with each on top of each other. This thing was really hard to work with. Then I placed my lemons the way I wanted wanted them to look, and I also ended up taking apart one of my lavender plants and adding the purple in it. I think it just made it look that much more nicer. And I am hot gluing the lemons and the lavender to the wreath because I don't know any other way that I could make it stay. Once it was dry, I just took that wire and made a little loop at the back so I can hang it up. Depending on what where you're hanging, you can add ribbon or whatever you want. I didn't want anything to show. So here it is above my fireplace. I hung it on top of the window and I think it just looks fabulous. I am using a foam board that I had left over from a different project, a stencil that says "Hello Sunshine." You'll need the pen, scissors. I'm using the English yellow chalk paint, some green, leaf green acrylic paint, and some black paint, and you will also need some paint brushes, and I'm also gonna use my stencil brush. So first I'm gonna do is I'm going to draw a lemon. But I want to make sure that I can fit the stencil inside of it, so I'm just going to mark off some points so I know that that has to stay in the lemon. Okay, now I'm going to cut it out. So I am going to just reinforce it a little bit with some of these painter sticks, just so it doesn't curl on me when I paint it. I don't know if I might use a popsicle stick there. And now I'm going to paint it, and you can use any yellow paint you have. I don't have any acrylic paint, so that's why I'm using my chalk paint. And now I'm going to paint the leaves, and I'm just going to grab some brown paint for the stem. So I'm going to let this dry. It shouldn't take too long with the chalk paint before I stencil stuff on it. So here is my lemon, and I was gonna do the stencil with black, but I'm thinking I'm going to do it with white. I think it's gonna look much better with white. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape so it doesn't move on me too much, and I'm just going to use my old white Annie Sloan chalk paint and my stenciling brush. Although my brush is a little wet because I was just washing them. Okay, now the reveal. There. I think that looks pretty good. I will need these wooden balls, some rope, yellow paint, as well as white paint, and I'm going to paint kind of half and half, I think. So I'm going to paint these white, yellow, and I'm going to leave these as they are. I just got this wooden dowel just so I can put these in here while I'm painting them. So my balls have dried. Now I'm going to assemble them. So there, I think this will be great on my 2-tier or 3-tier tray. And to me, it represents lemon, even though it has really very little to do with lemons. So for my next project, I have this from Dollarama. It was $4. I've had it laying around, and I had an idea to make a sign with Mod Podge, just something easy. Just not sure how this is gonna work, but I will give it a try. I think I can make it work. So I'm gonna cut this out first, and I just printed it off of internet, like off of, I think it was Pinterest. Now that I have it cut out, I am going to apply a generous amount of Mod Podge on the back of it, so that way I make sure that it is glued to it well. Just trying to center it the best that I can. Now I will make the cuts in where the cuts are. I just think it'll look better that way, and then I'm going to apply another generous amount of Mod Podge over top of it, just so that way it's on permanently. So I was going to distress the outsides of it or even paint it, but I absolutely love the way this sign turned out. It was so simple to make. Love it, love it, love it. I had picked up this truck a while back from Dollar Tree. I have a stencil from local Stockade. I can link the website in the description box for you to check out. And then I have this artist panel from Dollarama. Now, typically I stain the outside of the panel, and I paint the inside of the panel and kind of have like a frame going on, but I have decided that for this one I will just simply paint the panel with some white acrylic paint. I'm giving it a light coat. I'm not staining it or doing edging or anything. I'm just keeping it very simple. I also give a truck a base coat of the white acrylic paint. I paint everything white except the tires. I do paint the middle of the tires white as well, but not the outside, the rubber part of the tire. Now that the truck is painted white and it had some time to dry, I also, as you saw, painted the tires. I take the same paint, which is this Any Sloan graphite. You can use black acrylic paint. I'm out of it and haven't had a chance to order some yet. So I take the stencil and my stenciling brush and dab it on the rims of the truck. You obviously The same rules apply when you're applying the stencil. Less is more. Work in small batches instead of applying a ton of paint just to get it done. So just be patient and work your way through it. I pretty much give this tip every single time I use a stencil, because I do find that if you use too much paint, it will get smudged. Now, I ended up cleaning off the stencil before I moved on to the rest of the truck. I did want to cover the whole truck with the buffalo stencil, check stencil. However, there were some areas that I couldn't quite get into it, which you will see. And I also ended up doing just making my life a little bit easier and using a roller to apply the paint. But again, you don't want too much paint on that roller, so I actually ended up taking some off on a rag. I love buffalo check, especially at Christmas time and at fall time. But I do love the way it looks with lemons, and lemon decor is one of my favorite ways to decorate for the summer. I think it's just so bright and cheery, and it brightens up any space. If you want to see how I'm going to be decorating my house using lemons and all of the DIYs that I create that are lemon or summer DIYs here on this DIY channel, make sure you head on over to my home channel, where I will be starting my summer series probably this week, and I can't wait to share all the decor plans and things I have in store over on that channel. Tons of decorating inspiration. So if you love decor, you love lemons, make sure you head on over there. The link is in the description box. So once I had finished applying the stencil, I took some of my craft foam that I had in my daycare stash and cut out lemons, so it looks like the truck has all these lemons coming out of it. I also ended up cutting out the leaves from the green foam. Now, you did see that I had hot glued the truck to the painted artist panel that had some time to dry. You want to make sure that it's dry before you glue it on, because otherwise it will fall off. I also cut out some letters from some words with my Cricut machine, and I was using some of that Dollar Tree vinyl. I wasn't overly impressed with the way it was I was transferring it, but it did end up working, and I was happy with the way it ended up looking. It was just a little bit of how you say, it gave me some trouble transferring it, more so the yellow one than the black one. And I cut out, as you can see, farm to table and fresh picked lemons. I was very happy when I discovered that our Dollar Tree was carrying all these supplies for a Cricut machine, like vinyl, and then they had some tools as well, because sometimes I don't necessarily want a big roll of certain colored vinyl. I just want a little bit, and at $1.25, how can you go wrong? After I transferred the words onto the panel, I ended up tracing the fresh picked lemons with some black marker. I just think it gave the letters a little bit of depth. I did the same thing with the lemons as well. I just thought it created a little bit of a shadow, and it gave it a dimension. I love the way the sign turned out. I think it's going to look great with the rest of my lemon decor that I have in store. Now I am moving to these round circles that had come from Dollarama, and I'm painting one with black and one with white. And once they had dried, I start with the black one, with the white one, and I'm going to be using a stencil that I got at Stockade. It is a local store. in a town in Guelph, which is near me. And you can order stuff online, so I will have the link in the description box for you to check out. So I'm using my buffalo check stencil to stencil the pattern, and I'm using black to stencil the pattern on with. You could also use that buffalo check fabric that comes from Dollar Tree. I think that would look great as well. I unfortunately ran out of it, so I am doing the pattern. The stencil. And then I paint a circle that I traced from the mason jar lid on it, and then once that had dried, I just draw a bee. And I'm using a water-based marker that came from Michael's. I think this is such a cute sign, and I love the yellow, because I think, well, most of my summer decor has a ton of yellow, so this goes really well with my decor. Now, when I finished doing the bee, I felt like this needed some sort of a border, so I just take the same marker and I just draw somewhat of a same thickness border all the way around. And I think this just made the piece look more put together or complete. Now moving on to the black one, this is very simple. I started off with my white water-based marker, but I always feel that these aren't bright enough, so I end up going over it with my chalkboard marker in white. But before I do that, I just fill in the bee with some yellow and black. This is very simple. You can use your Cricut to make the letters, but I just went ahead and just wrote them out. For the next DIY, this one was more of a trash to treasure with a little bit of Dollar Tree. I'm sure we all have some of these candle containers from Bath and Body Works. I love keeping these because they are so versatile and you can create so many different DIYs with them. So this one was the white Wisteria, I think it was, white gardenia flower. And I am just removing the sticker with this little handy tool that I got at Dollar Store and More, and because I just wanted to make sure that I have a clean slate for the next step. I had purchased this kitchen rag at Dollar Tree, and I will be using it to dress up the container. I think also another thing that you could do is, if you found some napkins that are the pattern that you want, you could do this as well. I think that would look nice. So I'm just measuring out to see what the length and the width of the material I need to cut, because then that way I can use the rest of the other parts of the material for some other DIY. I will be using Mod Podge to glue this on. I do put a little bit of hot glue, which you will see in a little bit, just to keep it in place because it was sliding on me a bit more than I liked it to. So I just go around, and then I also cover the outside of the rag with Mod Podge as well. I love with the way this turned out. I think it looks really cute with some greenery, but you could also put some candles in it as well. Next project was also trash to treasure with some dollar store items. So I have all these pieces of fabric that were scraps from other projects. I've got some dark brown burlap, light brown burlap, some buffalo check, also yellow burlap, and some canvas that I used to make pillows over the Easter DIY period. So I have still quite a bit of quite the pieces left over, so I wanted to use them up. So I just cut all these pieces to fit on top of this scrap piece of wood, and I use hot glue and a rotary. So I use a rotary cutter to cut them, hot glue to glue them. But before I glue them, I only fringe the dark brown one, which will be my base, my background. Next, I add a layer of this canvas, and I use the rotary cutter just to straighten everything out. I do not fringe this material. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoy lemon DIYs. I have a couple more coming planned for the upcoming weeks. So I would love to know if this is something you enjoy as much as I do. So once I glued that on, I move on to cutting out a piece of yellow burlap, but I'm going to draw out a lemon shape. Tried with a pencil, it didn't really work, so I take a marker and I just, like I said, draw on a shape of a lemon that fits inside that canvas. You also want to leave a little bit of room for the leaves because you want to add some leaves too. And then I cut out a smaller lemon by tracing the yellow burlap lemon first, and then just cutting out one that's a tiny bit smaller. And I use the buffalo check fabric to cut that out of. I love, like I said, mentioned before, adding the buffalo checks with lemons. I think it just looks so well together. So I glue them together, and then I glue them onto the little sign. And for the leaves, because I didn't have, all the green fabric that I had was really, really bright, and I didn't love it. So I end up just using that green marker to draw on and color in the leaves. I did think this sign is so cute and would look absolutely amazing on your tier tray if you have a tier tray that's big enough to hold it up. It's just so simple and I think so cute. So I had picked up a while back, I have used this already, but this is a vintage box. It is a gift box that you can get at our liquor store, and you can put some wine in it. It's a vintage wine box, and I had just painted it white, and I was using it for something else, so I will be using this time. Lemons, I had bought a set of lemons for $12. No, a set of 12 lemons for $7 from Michael's, because I used my 40% coupon, and the rest of the stuff I had on hand. I will not be painting the box. I'm going to leave it white, but however, I wanted to make it more vintage, so I will be adding some dark wax to it and giving it that aged vintage look. And I'm using Annie Sloan dark wax. So I have dipped some in, and I'm just spreading it on the brush, and I'm going to gently just brush it. And then I'm going to take a rag and just rub it in. It just kind of brings out the little wood lines that are there, and I will repeat the same thing on this side. Okay, so that's pretty good, just so you can see. And now for the inside, I have just some styrofoam, and I'm going to cut this one. And I'm not gluing it just because I might want to use it for something else. So I'm going to use these leaves to just put them in. And these leaves have come from the Dollarama. I've been just using them for different projects throughout the year, usually as vase fillers. And then for all the little openings, I'm just going to put some of this deer moss. So there we go. This was such a simple DIY. For this DIY, I will be creating a lemon tree and off camera, and I have spray painted this galvanized bucket with some black paint, and you're going to be needing some florist foam. I am adding some rocks just to weigh it down, some deer moss, these garden sticks that I picked up at dollar store, as well as everything except the rocks had come from dollar store, and some of the lemons had come from dollar store, and some were thrifted, and all the greenery came from dollar store as well. So I had measured the stick, I cut a piece off. I just didn't want it to be too tall, and then I'm going to hot glue this piece of florist foam and push through the stick, push through it. And then I'm adding some rocks just to weigh it down. And then I covered the rocks with the deer moss. But before I do that, I actually decided that I wanted the stick to be a little bit darker, so I stain it with the same stain that I have been using. Now, I would suggest that you do this part before you glue it onto the bucket. It's just so much easier. But since I wasn't planning on doing it, but then decided to do it after, I was doing it backwards. To attach the leaves, I was contemplating about hot gluing them, but then I decided to use some florist wire to attach them all together. So you just want to build a kind of a tree look-alike, I guess. I was using the picture from the dupe to kind of match up the leaves. Do you guys love dupes? Do you love recreating, creating something that looks expensive and that you found in a store and recreated it? I think it's a great way to save money, and you can always put that personal touch onto them as well. If something's not quite the way you wanted it, you can make it exactly the way you want it. And you can stretch your dollar quite a bit with just a little bit of imagination. Once all my leaves were in place, I am going to be adding the lemons, and I'm just using the wire from a fake plant or a bunch of flowers that I've had and used for something else, and I'm just cutting off the little pieces of wire off of them because it's fairly thick, and I thought it would be but bendable, and I thought this would be great thing to use because I can poke it through the lemon and then I can also wrap it around the stick. I did use glue on hot glue on a couple of them, but just to keep them from moving, but not too much of it. I think it turned out so cute. I think for around $5, you can't beat the price, and I think it's gonna look great with my summer decor. Is a watering can that I had picked up at Dollarama for $4. I'm sure you can find any watering can would work. I give this watering can a light spray of chalked paint by Rust-Oleum, and it's white, and it is a very light spray. Some of the gray almost shows through, which is what I was trying to achieve. And once this the one coat, which is all I'm doing, is on, I let it fully dry before I move on to my next step. I am using my Cricut Maker for my next step, and I had cut out two different images, a leafy border and a bee, and I'm going to transfer it onto the watering can. I would also like to mention that today's video is part of a hop that I am hosting, and I have 4 lovely ladies joining me today, and so make sure you hop on over to the link in the description box, which is the video that is next in the hop, and then she will have the next one, and so on and so forth. So eventually you will end up coming back to me, and this was the theme for this hop was summer. So here it is. Just try to center it as much as you can, and just like with any transfer, you want to rub it so that way it transfers onto the watering can when you are lifting the transfer tape. My transfer tape that I'm using is a clear shelf liner from Dollar Tree. I repeat the same process with the bee. The bee was a little bit finicky, and the bee is available on Cricut Design Space. The little border I had made myself, and I just put these two together. As you can see, I lost a leg, which I end up going back into and taking it off. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, my name is Sonja and you're watching my DIY channel, where you will find tons of trash to treasure makeovers, furniture makeovers, as well as Dollar Tree DIY. So make sure your notification bell and your subscribe buttons are both turned on, so that way you don't miss out any of my future uploads. So I think this turned out really, really cute. I love that look, that vintage farmhouse shabby chic look that this design gave it. But wait, I'm not completely done. There is the other side, and on the other side I will be adding some stencil. This stencil came from a local store and I've used it in several DIYs in the past, and I am using some Athenian black paint from Annie Sloan to apply it. As I mentioned in my last video, I ran out of black acrylic paint. I know I can order it on Amazon. I just haven't gotten around to do so yet. So just using up things that I have around the house to create DIYs and the paints that I have on hand. So I am using a sponge brush to apply the paint onto the stencil, and as you can see, I am dabbing it, not rubbing it, because you don't want to rub it because otherwise it's going to make a mess. So there were a couple spots that the paint went on where it wasn't supposed to, so I am just taking some of that spray painting a little bit into the lid, and just taking a sponge brush that looks like eye makeup applicator, and just dabbing it on to cover it up. Next, I am taking a piece of sandpaper and just roughing up certain areas so it looks like it's aged and antiqued. I absolutely love the way this watering can turned out, and I think it's gonna be a great addition to my decor. For my next project, I cut up 3 pieces of scrap wood that I had left over from a different project and spray painted them with the same chalk paint. This is just faster than painting them, and I am doing 3 sides and the top. I'm not doing the bottom. And then while that was drying, I have had this piece that I cut off from a last project I was working on. I cut that off. It was actually a part that goes inside a toilet plunger. And I wasn't using it. Luckily, I saved it, and then I came up with an idea to make a honeycomb spoon. So I took apart an old paintbrush and took that wood piece of the paintbrush and glued it on to that piece from the toilet plunger. I think this ended up fabulous. It looks exactly like one I have for my honey. So once these pieces of wood were dry, I move on to assembling. What I'm doing is creating a book stack that I want to use on my tier tray, my summer tier tray. So I am going to glue these together. You just want to make sure that all the painted sides are what's showing, not the unpainted side. Once they were all glued together, I took my marker and just wrote sweet like honey, and I also drew a little bee. I took out all these different markers because I wasn't sure which one was going to work the best. And first time was a charm this time around. Once I was done with that, I take a piece of rope and wrap it all the way around several times. Once I reach the end, I leave a little bit of each side on there so I can tie the little honey spoon on it. To finish it off, I apply some dripping hot glue on it so it looks like it's dripping off, and then I add a little bit of yellow paint, rub it on with a cloth, and then add a little bit more of the hot glue over it just so it's not so bright, but I wanted it to look like honey. I think this turned out so cute and it's gonna look so good on my tier tray. For this project, I have this piece of plaque from the Dollarama. I've had it for a while, and I'm going to apply a very light coat of white acrylic paint, and I'm going to use a sponge brush to apply it, and I'm also going to take a rag and just rub any extra paint that was on it off. I found this image online. I just googled vintage lemonade free printable, and I printed it off, and then I'm going to cut everything out individually just so I can fit it onto that piece of wood. To glue it on, I am using some Mod Podge, and I'm going to apply it on the bottom and on the top. And you kind of want to play around with it a little bit to make sure that everything fits if your piece of wood is that as small as mine. I love the way the sign turned out. I think it's very summery, and I can't wait to use it in my decor. Now this one, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Tons of people are doing it. I am making a beehive, and I am just using some twine to wrap it around. I think another one of those nautical ropes would look really good to wrap around as well, and a thicker jute rope would look good too. I only have the twine right now, so that's what I'm using, and you just want to wrap it around, make it as tight as you can, all the way through the pot. I am using terracotta pot. You can use any pot you really have, or a vase, or anything that kind of somewhat resembles a beehive. If you are enjoying my video so far, make sure you hit that like button. It helps me out a lot by letting me know that you guys enjoy these type of videos. And don't forget to leave a comment once you are finished, letting me know which one was your favorite. Make sure you make some form of a point on your pot if it doesn't have it, so because you want it to have a bit of a point. So I put tons of glue there, and then I am just going to pull it out a little bit just to lift it up. Once you are done lifting up, don't forget to add a little circle in the middle. I've been wanting to make this one for a while, and I think it looks so cute. Now I am making some more wood signs, and for this one I am using the rectangular ones that came from Dollarama. There was like a pack of, I don't even know how many, but and I'm using this buffalo check ribbon from Michael's that I picked up a while back, and as you can see, I've painted the little wood piece with black acrylic paint. I make a bow, and then I hot glue the bow down, and then I just use my markers to write stuff on it. Another cute and simple filler sign. Now this one I have picked up the set of these hexagon wood shapes from, I think this was from your dollar store or with more, and I am painting a border with black acrylic paint, and but only on the outside. I just really wanted that to be kind of stand out, and yeah, just pretty much the border to make it kind of pop and stand out. And then I'm going to paint the middle with the yellow acrylic paint, as well as the sides. Now, because I'm doing it right after, some of the black does pull in a little bit, and I'm okay with that. I think it just makes it look a little bit on the rustic side. And once this has completely dried, I take my black water based marker and I just draw some honeycombs in it. I do color them in, and then once that's done, I wanted to write with some thinner point marker, but none of them were working for me, so I actually ended up taking just a black pen, and that seemed to have worked for the top, where I just say be sweet like, and then honey I write with the thick marker. Now I dug back into my scrapbooking stash and I took this bee stamp that I've had. It's a wooden stamp, and I just put some of that water-based marker on it and stamped it on, and this looked really, really good, I think. Now I wanted to make another stamped bee sign, so this one I am keeping very simple, and I am just going to stamp this on again, same technique, and then I am going to just write buzz on it. I am loving this stamp so much, so here is one more, and this one I have to say it's probably my least favorite, just simply because it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to with the writing. I probably should have just stuck to the black marker writing, but I wanted to write with white and none of them were really showing, and because I wanted it to be thinner letters, not so thick, the chalkboard marker didn't really work. So I went and I used my wet pencil, watermark pencil, I think that's what they're called, but that worked the best, but it still wasn't where exactly I wanted it to be. So then I went ahead and just traced those letters with the black marker, and then just use my yellow permanent marker to draw on just another honeycomb. I think the sign is cute, it's just not quite exactly what I wanted it. And I have to say, this one was one of my favorites. So I am using some leftover drop cloth material that I've had. This is in like canvas style material. I picked this up at Dollarama a while back, and I've made several pillows with it already. So I am making a mini pillow for my tray and using a hot glue gun to glue the pillow together. And then before I stuff the pillow, I do turn it inside out, or the right side in, I guess, because you want it to be inside out when you're gluing it. I use a pencil or the end of a brush to push the corners out, and then I just take my marker and just write sweet on it and draw a bee. This was so simple to make, and it looks so cute on my tray. And then once I have finished drawing the bee on, I just stuff it with some pillow stuffing that I have on hand, that I had saved from old pillows, and just hot glue it together. And you want to turn the ends in and then glue it together.